what I feel you really need to hear and what you really need to assimilate isn't always what you want to hear or what you will accept with as much love as I choose to give it. Now, sometimes it's a real nemesis for me. Any data that I pass on to you, I have worked many yugas to acquire. And even in this lifetime, I've spent decades in coming to learn what I know. In love and respect of your immortality, I try and pass these things on to you. I want to share these things with you. They're secrets that hardly anyone knows. They're secrets that you're not going to even get from another master. They're distinctions and lines that are drawn that you'll never hear, you'll never read, they'll never be talked about because most don't want to be exposed. So I bring these things out with great love, great faith, naively expecting you to cherish them in proportion to the difficulty it was in learning and acquiring them myself. And sometimes there's a backlash on that. Sometimes the Chela doesn't want to hear the truth, and they're more interested in defending their own ego or their own mind. And I say naive because actually I'm the one that's at fault there. And it's very much like the parents laboring very hard to, let's say, save enough money to buy their child a new bedroom set. In fact, I had that experience when I was a child. I think I was only about 7 years old, and I was kind of a problem child because I had so much energy, I'm sure you can imagine. And this one summer, my folks wanted to get rid of the kids, and so they did. We went out to this farm and worked, and when we came back, what they had done was they had completely redid my brother's and my own bedroom. Now, this was back in the 50s, and we didn't have much money. And my father had hand-built this bed set and sanded it out of wood, built the whole thing, stained it, varnished it, all this stuff. Put in the whole summer in making these beds, drawers, you know, all the stuff. It was just fantastic. Of course, I was 7 years old. It didn't mean a thing to me. It didn't mean anything. And when we got home and we saw this, of course, it was nice and it was new, but the appreciation that he was probably expecting to receive was not present. It was not there. I could not have cared less. The gift that he gave us was beyond my capacity to relate to utilize, to even be thankful for. Yet here he was my elder, and he had worked hard to do this and worked hard to save his money so he could save a little bit of money. Well, I would say that he was truly naive to expect his child to relate to what he had done. Now, I do that sometimes to you, very innocently. That's naive. So I had that realization again up in my room, and I want to apologize for that because I constantly try and give you pure truth, and sometimes it's over your head, or sometimes you're not ready for it. And I have to be very sensitive to this, because the truth comes in like a battering ram, and it causes a lot of disruption at times, because we have our cherished ideals, our preconceived notions, and the master comes in and he challenges all of them. And right in the beginning, there sits the mind, and there sits the ego, and of course it wants to rise in rebuttal to this introduction of the Shabda. And it happens fast and it happens swift. Then as one's on the path a little bit longer, they mellow out a little bit, they get to understand the master a little bit, and they start to appreciate him, what he's saying, how he's saying it. And then that slackens a little bit, and then they start to come in harmony with his teachings, and then after a little while longer, they turn out to be the highest teachings of all, and the very teachings and the way of life that will emancipate you. So I wanted to bring that up because I certainly don't want to give you truth if you're not ready for it. Now, on a path such as this, we're always going to have our veterans that understand precisely what the Master is saying and never question him one iota. Then we're going to have the middle chelas that have been on the path for a while that are so-so. They want to be more in harmony. They're striving to be more in harmony, but they haven't conquered maybe their ego or their mind. And then on a path such as this, being it's open to all, my teachings are open to all, we have new chelas that come in. Now, they're not as interested in supporting the Master or really even hearing what the Master has to say, the new chelas, not all of them, but they're more interested in getting relief from their unique dilemma, loneliness or poverty, or they need help with their family or something like this. This is very understandable. Any reason is good enough to come on the path, and the Master will accept it. But in the beginning, the beginning chelas, many times, and not all, they'll challenge the Master. They'll have 1,001 questions, and to them it's very natural, and this cannot be denied. You can't deny a chela the right to ask their questions. You've got to give a chela room to turn around, to see what they've done or maybe what they should do. And so this is a very normal response. So would you, as the Master Path unfolds, and as we become larger and even become tighter in consciousness, would you please understand what I'm telling you? Would you please understand that we'll always have new chelas? We'll always have that level of vibration that where they're not certain of themselves and they want to know more about the Master and they want to check him out. And I ask you to check me out. So while this happens, please don't be disturbed or disrupted or think that I'm being treated unfairly or have pity for me or suffer for me. No, this is part of the job. It's part of my mission. And I do the best I can. Okay? When you can kind of get a feel, I open up questions very seldomly. Because when one does, if you haven't learned to curtail your mind, the mind seizes the opportunity. The mind leads the charge. And it has all kinds of questions, all kinds of doubts. And it wants to challenge the Master. It wants to challenge the truth. And really, idealistically, we'd want one to accept the truth or have a very positive attitude, the right type of doubt. Okay? So I wanted to explain that to you. We will see a lot of this, okay? And you're going to need to be understanding. So am I, and I try to be. But I want you to understand as well. You can see why questions lead to another question. And then that question leads to another question. And before you know it, you're pursuing your spirituality through the mind and expecting certain answers to your questions. And see, that's just the mind leading the charge. And that's why some of you, the older ones, realize that, well, questions aren't really in your favor. They're not going to serve you. Because it's the mind. If you ask a question, there's got to be an answer. That means we're dealing with the two polarities, and that means we're in the lower worlds. Now, you can give your question to the inner Master, but then the teaching states that you should be patient and wait for him to bring you the answer when the time is right. It may be immediate, it may be in a month, it may be in a year, but you're asked to accept that. But if you charge into it with the mind, okay, then you can never get anything that surpasses the mind. And an answer is a form of death. You see, it stops your searching, it stops your curiosity. When you throw out a question, you're asking for an answer. You have to be very, very, very careful that you're not shortchanging yourself, that you're not taking a spiritual principle that needs to be contemplated and looked at from all different angles. Instead of doing that, it's supplanted with the mind coming in there and asking some type of question that is very important to the mind. Well, what's very important to the mind is inconsequential to soul. The soul doesn't really care about the mind's antics, you see. So if the mind takes a spiritual principle and away from soul, you haven't been able to protect your spirituality. You're going to lose your state of consciousness. That issue is going to descend down into the mental plane, either your nidj manas or your anda mind or your pinda mind, your physical mind, your day-to-day mind. And then it's going to chew on it like a bone. And in that, all the energy is wasted. Okay, that's an example of protecting your spirituality.